My name is Anthony, I'm your host, and we are financial markets. That's what we are all about. And remember, you can catch our conversations on Twitter. That is the hashtag is financial markets. And of course, on Facebook at of course, Smart24 TV official. And on our YouTube live stream, you can catch us at Smart24 TV. And on GoTV decoders, you can catch us at, channel 394. We were talking about our top stories here, and of course, we cannot exclude the fact that World Bank has urged government to focus on social protection. Now, the World Bank has advised the government to make spending on social protection a priority while executing the fiscal policy, because expanding the coverage of social registries is important for improving delivery systems which directly benefit the vulnerable people. Now, the World Bank says the social registries need to be more dynamic and integrated with other delivery system components. In his presentation during a dialogue on social protection as investment on Wednesday, the Global Director of Social and, of course, Jobs at World Bank Group, Mr. Mikhail Rutkowski, said that Uganda, like other countries facing the challenges of social protection, should address the coverage gap. And of course, inclusion by having a well-documented national registry on social protection in place. He says that they should prioritize the poorest and the most vulnerable with adequate support for the different risks that households face across the life cycle. Develop new instruments to support the missing middle. They should also continue to expand coverage in food consumption score and account for specific needs for women and girls and other excluded groups such as people with disability, indigenous population, and migrants. That is according to Mr. Rutkowski, who is of course from the World Bank Group. He also said that others are addressing the flexibility gap by moving from inflexibility to responsiveness to increase the capacity of social protection justice systems to help households to adapt to shocks. Now, particularly ensuring that programs are designed to maximize contribution to climate change mitigation and adaptation. Of course, according to Mr. Rutkowski, the World Bank official also said other priorities should be on addressing the opportunity gap, the productive programs, increasing the level of ambition in terms of scale and quality of the labor market, and productive inclusion programs to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic shocks. The Minister of State for Northern Uganda Rehabilitation, Ms. Grace Freedom, of course, said social protection is an investment in human development and should not be seen as a consumption. Of course, Ms. Grace Freedom also said that the theme for the conference, which was investing in human capital to build resilience and productivity for inclusive growth, is relevant to the concern about increasing population and the unemployment rates that are escalating, with 54% of Uganda population being youth below 18 years of age. Social protection should be looked at as an investment in people, not as a consumption means. Over the past years, government has focused so much on infrastructure development and not on household development. That's according to Ms. Freedom Grace right there. She also said she was happy that they have the stakeholder dialogue to help explore what can be done to deepen the social protection and build resilience, invest in human capital development, and promote inclusive growth. That was what happened right there for other individuals who are marginalized in the country, especially the old and the disabled and other people with special needs. That group of people particularly have not been catered for when it comes to social protection. Remember, we have a social protection fund, that is the National Social Protection, Security Social Protection Fund. So that NSSF has been trying to help people to maybe save for their retirement, maybe help them invest, their savings for their retirement. But then there are people who have not been looked at. There are people who have been left out, and they need to be brought on board. Remember, even if you're not disabled, even if you are not yet an elder person, you need to save for your retirement. And the best way to save for your retirement is to save with a pension scheme that is legalized by government, probably the mandatory National Security Savings Scheme, or the other, voluntary schemes that are around, of course, the country. Remember, Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, UBRA, is in charge of all the pension schemes in Uganda, regulating them, making sure they follow the rules. But it's important. It's important for our nation to move away from hand to mouth and make people save for their retirement. What they do as a social protection fund, they get money from you as a public and put that money in clean investments that bring return. And at the end of your strength, at the end of the tunnel, at the end of life, when you're about to actually get done around here, you need support from the money that you have been making all along the journey of life in your youthful years. And that money comes as a retirement benefit in terms of pension. And they give it to you not as you saved it, but with an interest. And that is what we are all about. Making sure your savings are working for your good. They are working for your, they're making you a little bit more money to help you survive through and make the most of, what you are saving. Moving on to another story here, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has secured major secondary listing from Australia's Southern Palladium. Now, in a major boost for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, exchange's efforts to attract international companies for a secondary listing on the bourse, shares in Australia's Southern Palladium Limited, that is Southern Palladium, began trading today. The listing coincides perfectly with the strong appetite in the market for commodities. That is according to Mr. Valdin Reddy, who is the Director of Capital Markets in Johannesburg at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Later on, next time, probably next week, we shall be talking to someone about the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and how they have been able to improve. By the way, it's the biggest exchange on the African continent, and we are seeing with the creation of a secondary listing that will actually help them grow their market wider. It is encouraging, of course, that through the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, now the Southern Palladium, in collaboration with the Bengwenyama community, has raised capital to explore for minerals such as palladium, rhodium, platinum, and iridium that support the green economy while creating much needed jobs in the process. The Southern Palladium's Johannesburg Stock Exchange debut comes after the Australian headquartered company acquired a 70% stake in South African private company Miracle Upon Miracle Investment, that is BTY Limited. And of course, Southern Palladium has a primary listing on the Australian Stock Exchange and a secondary listing now on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Southern Palladium offers investors an opportunity to participate in one of the largest undeveloped platinum group metal deposits in the prolific eastern limb of the Bushveld complex. The flagship, of course, project presents relatively low capital intensity at shallow development paths at a time when a future of green economy has sparked a significant renewed interest in platinum, of course, says Mr. Johan on the dial, who is the managing director at Southern Palladium Limited. The MUM, that is the Miracle Upon Miracle Limited company, holds up to 100% of a prospecting right, which permits it to explore for a wide range of minerals such as platinum group metals, gold, nickel, and copper, and of course, chromium. Under the South African mining legislation, a prospecting right and of course entitles the holder to an exclusive right to prospect for prescribed minerals over a prescribed area of land. Southern Palladium successfully completed a 19 million Australian US dollar, that is about 212 million rand, capital raised to finance its exploration program in Limpopo's Bushveld complex. Southern Palladium has floated about 89.75 million ordinary shares, of which 39.63 million shares will move into South Africa register and is trading on the main board under the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and of course the code SDL. The listing of Southern Palladium brings the number of listed companies on Johannesburg Stock Exchange to about 313. Wow, that's something. With an overall market capitalization of 20.76 trillion rand. That is amazing, super amazing right there for the company from Australia to be listed on a stock exchange here in Africa. I think we should see this in Uganda as well. Imagine maybe Amazon or Apple or something, any company relevant probably to our market here, decided to list on the Uganda Securities Exchange. I think that would be awesome. I think I think it's a good opportunity for foreign companies to list on, of course, other companies elsewhere in other countries, because that creates a good means of trade. And of course, if there be key benefits or key interests in that company, maybe investing in the country, that is even better, because that way the company is growing and expanding, raising capital from your public, but also helping, grow the economy back at home. So that is what Southern Palladium is going to do in South Africa. It's a company that is specialized in mining platinum group metals, but also other metals like nickel, like of course gold. And this, as we know, South Africa is a mineral-rich company, especially in its Limpopo region. Limpopo is a region where mining is done a lot, about the western part of South Africa. And this company is going to come and actually start a project there with mining, of course, platinum group elements and metals. But as well, it has listed on the secondary listing, as a secondary listing on the Johannesburg Securities Exchange, bringing the total number of companies listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange to 313. You can imagine, in Uganda we only have 18 companies listed. Of course, we may not compare the economies, the South African economy that is well established and already grown, but we can start as well with the small that we have and grow our wings, and probably we get to such figures. They have a market capitalization of over 20.76 trillion rand. That is a lot of money there to be invested in a stock market on the African continent. And this is the goal of every nation on the African continent, to grow their capital markets and have as many companies as possible listed on the stock market, and giving people an opportunity to take part in their shareholding, eventually growing the company, growing the people through dividends, through capital gain, and so on. So it's a good thing for Johannesburg Stock Exchange having a company from Australia listing on their secondary listings, and we hope it will all go well. Moving a top story we looked at the beginning of the week was about cryptocurrency ban from Ethiopia. And we just wanted to have a look a little bit at some of the detail that came out, of course, earlier in the week. If you remember, the Ethiopia's National Bank, that is the National Bank of Ethiopia, has, of course, said that transactions in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Binance, or maybe Ethereum, Luna, and so on, have been completely made illegal. Ethiopia's central bank on Monday warned citizens against engaging in illegal transactions in crypto, like Bitcoins and so on, saying that the National Bank of Ethiopia has, of course, put these digital currencies like cryptocurrencies out of recognition by the Apex Bank and as a transaction and payment method. State-affiliated Fana Broadcasting Corporate, that is FBC, of course, noted right there about the National Bank of Ethiopia. Ethiopia's national currency is the Ethiopian bar, that their currency, with any financial transaction in Ethiopia to be paid in bars, according to the law. And of course, the National Bank of Ethiopia has warned that the digital currencies are being used to conduct informal financial transactions and money laundering in Ethiopia, and called on the public to cease trading in digital currencies, to report to the authorities when they see such illegal transactions are being carried out in the country. Enforcement agencies, tax authorities, and regulators around the world are also looking for ways to regulate and control transactions on cryptocurrencies. In order to achieve this, of course, central banks around the world are contemplating introducing their own digital currency, that is the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, to compete or even outcompete these other digital currencies. Of course, in Africa, Ghana, Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya, and of course South Africa have already started exploring the central bank digital currencies viability. Now, the central bank digital currency is going to be different from the cryptocurrency if it comes anyway. After all, it's something already being thought about by many central banks around the world, and in Africa as well. They're thinking of coming up with the currency that is virtual, in a way that it does not, it's still regulated, it does not override regulations by the central bank, but it's 100% virtual, just like cryptocurrencies. The only difference is cryptocurrencies are not regulated by a certain body, and they are decentralized currencies that are not, they're not like a piece of paper where we give, the governor of Bank of Uganda maybe signs and they're made currency. No, these are just completely virtual digital assets that are completely decentralized, only regulated, or actually, let's not call it regulated, only secured by ledgers and blockchain technology. That's why they're called cryptocurrency, because they work with technology known as cryptography, where different ledgers are, ledgers are like listings of several different millions of transactions are, interconnected in a blockchain. And every transaction that is carried out, one transaction will definitely disrupt all the other transactions. It will reflect on all other transactions, showing that some money has been transacted using this crypto coin. Yes, maybe using Bitcoin, but there's nothing like a regulatory body. There's nothing like a security. There's nothing, to regulate the cryptocurrency space. And of course, this worries governments, since they don't have a central issuing or regulating authority, but instead rely on decentralized system to log transactions and generate new units. This worries government that this could be used as a means of money laundering. For example, government officials could use money that is slated for maybe medical care, maybe different things, maybe infrastructure, and put it in crypto, and no one will trust them. No one will trust the money, because the money is 100%, virtual and unregulated, and without any, person involved in terms of, the transactions that occur. Entirely, these are computer systems that run the transactions without involvement of human beings. This worries governments a lot, with, of course, many being banned in Africa and elsewhere in the world. Notably, however, in Africa, only Central African Republic has so far embraced cryptocurrency to the extent of making it a legal tender, that crypto is now legal tender in Central African Republic. And of course, this came with a lot of criticism from the public, saying maybe the government has other intentions of, stealing money from the public. And of course, Central African Republic has also had a share of its own political and economic problems, but they did embrace the cryptocurrency and are right now using it to transact. As well, here in Uganda, if you remember, a circular dated April 29th came out from Bank of Uganda, according to Mr. Andrew Kaweri, the director of the National Payment System, of course, there under Bank of Uganda, saying that Bank of Uganda has not actually legalized cryptocurrency transactions from from cryptocurrency to transacting to the Ugandan currency. And that is a debate that many people have been having, and issues surrounding the crypto have been very argumentative, creating a lot of ambiguity, and many people are still skeptical about this because, of course, of cases of people who have taken away people's money and never returned, and people who have used the cryptocurrency as an avenue to steal monies from the public and use it, for other things before they could be traced. Those are some of the problems, but as well, crypto has its own problems. Recently, Luna, which is one of the coins in crypto, lost value from $116 to over $0. Zero, completely zero, wiped out in terms of value. And so it collapsed. So cryptocurrencies collapse, and when they do, it hits really hard. The losses are grave. They are grave losses when cryptocurrency, of course, is devalued or collapses completely to zero value. And so, as well, there are benefits, of course, in case it goes up, according to, of course, cryptocurrency enthusiasts. But still, a lot has to be done in terms of regulation and embracing the new technology of transactions. Humble reminder to the people with shares in Stanbic Bank, your shares are going to your dividend will be issued very soon at about 0.98 shillings per share. You will have, your dividend being issued. According to the Bank of Uganda report, Stanbic, of course, as said, it was authorized by Bank of Uganda to pay 100 billion Uganda shillings worth of dividends to all its current shareholders, making sure that they each benefit from from their dividends of last year and the other year of 2020, given the ban that was put on all banks in 2020, that is in July, against issuing dividends in order for them to reserve capital for growth and development in the subsequent, pandemic and other shocks that happened in, around the economies of Uganda and other East African nations. So in the post-annual general meeting noticed, of course, yesterday, that is about at the beginning of this week, Stanbic said that the AGM had authorized as well the board to take necessary steps to effect the payment of this 100 billion in final and interim dividends for the year 2021 and 2022. The payment, according to the bank, would be split into two portions, with at least 50 billion of payment for the final dividend of 2021, and 50 billion would pay interim dividends of 2022. The shareholders were informed that the bank received approval from Bank of Uganda, of course, on 1st June. On the basis of the said regulatory approval and authorization by the board, the company will undertake all the necessary steps required to declare and effect all payments of the dividend in line with USE listing rules 2021. However, the notice was silent of about the 110 billion that Stanbic had declared as dividend payment for the period ended December 2020. Before, of course, the company had already declared 110 billion for the year 2020. And this now, the company is silent because, of course, due to restrictions, Bank of Uganda has only let it give out 50 billion for the financial year 2020. We will be looking at that and more later on, but we will go for a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.